I'm probably supposed to say that I'm surprised to see so many faces here today, but I'm not, because I knew without hesitation that a crowd like this would gather to honor my father. To know him was to love him, and if you are lucky enough to love him, you are better for it. Many of you knew him as John or Dino, but I knew him as Dad. And saying I knew him, speaking about him in the past tense, feels wrong in a way I can't even begin to explain, because my dad was larger than life. I'm sure many of you would attest to the fact that he had an energy that could fill any room and a smile that could lift anyone's spirit. He lived with purpose and kindness. He lived in a way that left people feeling seen and understood, and he lived with so much love. To me, my dad was the best version of what a person could be, the epitome of strength, love, and comfort. Until I was 9 or 10 years old, I was too scared to sleep in my own room because I'd get nightmares. So he would sit by my bed for hours until I finally fell asleep. And I mean hours and hours on end, every single night. And when I still snuck into his bed at 2 a.m., he never stopped me. He made life feel so safe, like nothing wrong could happen in his presence. One of his great loves was soccer, and it was a part of his life that he passed on to me without any pressure, only pure joy. I think he probably dreamed I'd follow in his footsteps, but when it became clear that I was never going to make it to his level, he never made me feel like I had to. He was just happy to be there. From age 4 to 17, he never missed a single game. He coached all my rec teams, and Coach John was everyone's favorite. He always gave me advice on every single play I made, but it wasn't just me. He would make me wait after every game, and he'd take the time to talk to someone. Even though we were literally 7 years old, he would just tell them things that they needed to hear. Even as I got older, when I went to travel soccer, he would help sometimes step in and coach my team, and he always gave everyone the words of encouragement that they needed. That was just the type of person that he was. But what I missed most from my soccer days wasn't the game itself, but our long drives to tournaments. It was just the two of us, 7-hour trips where he'd let me sleep and turn off the music so I wouldn't wake up. Or he'd let me rant to him about my dumb drama, and he always gave me the best advice I could ask for. And of course, he always let me take off my cleats and sneak up the car, but he was just happy to be there with me, and now I would give anything to be there with him again. It's hard to put into words how unfair it feels that my dad won't get to walk me down the aisle at my wedding, that I won't get to see him get married again to Jeannie and see Nico at his side as his best man, that we'll never have another family dinner or curl up on the couch watching TV, and that he won't become a grandfather, because anyone who knows him knows how amazing of a grandpa he would have been. But things can change in a heartbeat, and less than a week before the accident, I FaceTimed him from UVA, and I had completely broken down 2.5 weeks in because I was missing him, and I was missing home more than I could handle. And he stayed on the phone with me for hours, and we just talked and talked. And I remember I skipped going out that day just to stay on the phone with him. And he made a plan that day to drive 2 hours that following Monday, September 15th, just to have lunch with me. He said he'd bring a few snacks from my dorm, and he later sent me an entire shopping cart overflowing with all of my favorite snacks. And I spent the rest of that week telling just about everyone how excited I was for that lunch. It felt like the only thing getting me through my tests and my work. And then, on September 11th, he was in the accident. That phone call was the last time I heard his voice, and his very last text to me was to tell me how excited he was to see me that next week. When I got the news, one of the first things I said was that we were supposed to have lunch. I still don't know why my life worked out this way, why that lunch never got to happen, why I can't just call my dad up anymore when I need to cry or get advice or laugh, and why someone who is so full of life isn't here to keep giving it. But there is no explanation that could ever feel fair, and we're not meant to understand because there really is no making sense of it. So what I ask of everyone in this room today is to remember how he lived. I know everyone here is probably feeling some sort of loss or grief for my father, but don't bother asking why, because that question will never have a satisfying answer. Instead, remember the way that my dad showed up, the way he laughed, and the way he loved. Remember the impact he left on you and everyone around him, and the kindness he brought into every interaction he had. If you take nothing else away from my words, please just carry that forward, because that is truly what he would have wanted. Thank you.